morning, everybody. Welcome to church. We're so glad you're here today. Let's give these guys a big hand for leading us in worship this morning. So good. Yeah, it's always great to have our friend Rachel leading us. And man, she is one of the most kindest, most gentle, authentic people I have ever met. And same person off stage as she is on stage. What a great team leading us this morning. If you happen to be new, my name's Scotty. I'm one of the pastors at Journey. I'll be teaching this morning. The men and women who are going to receive the offering, if you would go ahead and come and take your places. And you can receive that as soon as you arrive there. Thanks for being such an amazingly generous church and being such givers. And I know that most of you who attend our church regularly, you give online, but if you came prepared to give today, you can drop that in the bucket when it comes by in just a few moments, or if you have one of those prayer cards or connect cards, you can drop that in there as well. A couple of things to let you know about. One, immediately after our 11:30 service today, we'll be having baptisms. And if you're new to church, baptism for us is a way to go public with your faith. There are many people in our church over the last year or so who've given their lives to Christ and started following Jesus, and it's just a real public celebration of that milestone moment for them, big spiritual marker they can stake in the ground and a moment that they can remember forever. And so I let you know that because it's not too late to be baptized today. If you'd like to, you can come back after the 11:30 service and do that. But I also let you know because if you're ready to take that step, we do that 4 or 5 times a year, and if you're ready to take that big next step, we'd love to invite you to do that. There's more information on our website about that. Also, next week, we'll be starting a brand new teaching series here at Journey called You, Me, and We. And it's all about marriage and friendship and life together in your marriage. And so we really, really think this is going to be a helpful series for our church. And I know there are lots of people in our church that are married. There are lots of people in our church that want to be married or want to be married again one day. I really believe this will be incredibly helpful for you. We do have a marriage conference this next weekend, but it sold out in 5 days. So it packed out the room, and we've got childcare going on. So I'm hoping that means people are excited about it, or people need a lot of help, either one. So we're excited about doing that. But what I want to tell you that because if you didn't get a chance to jump in on the marriage conference, the person who's going to be leading the conference, Mike Lynch, is also going to be speaking next Sunday. So he's going to be teaching in all of our services. So some of the material that they're using in the conference, but also brand new material for the series. So you're going to love him, and I would really, really love for you to be a part. Before we pray and jump into the message, we have been in this 21 days of prayer and fasting together as a church. When you came in today, you received a little bulletin. Inside the bulletin is a little note-taking outline, and you can write some things down along the way. But every year, our church has this hallmark moment of 3 weeks of seeking God, 21 days of prayer and fasting. And many people have been fasting from certain kinds of food, certain meals. There are several people in our church who have fasted from food the entire 21 days. And so they'll be breaking the fast today with communion. We're going to receive communion at the end of the service today. And it has been a very powerful time for us. In fact, my family has experienced some significant breakthroughs, and God leading us in some direction and changing our perspective. And it's been one of the best 21 days we've ever experienced. And maybe God's spoken to you, but we always start the beginning of the year with this mindset, this intention, like I'm setting my heart on you, God. I want to know you. I want to know the direction that you have for me in my life. And honestly, this started for me many, many years ago, but I believe the most important thing that any one of us can do this year is to know God more. Is to have him reveal himself personally to each one of us. Every challenge, every problem, every area that we want to improve will be improved by knowing the heart and character of God more. And that's what this 21 days is about. To say, Jesus 2019 is about you and about what you want for our lives. In the spring of 1995, I started to attend this college Bible study. It was in Atlanta, and it had begun to grow very fast. This was maybe the second week of it meeting. The girl who invited me to church for the very first time when I was 16 years old invited me to come and be a part of it. She was singing on the worship team like some of our people here. And I got there early. I think my girlfriend and now wife, Amy, she drove up later. And I walked in, I was there early, I was backstage, and the guy who was leading the Bible study, his name was Louis Giglio. I didn't know who he was at the time. He's 60 now, and that was 20-something years ago. I think he might be one of the most influential Christians in the world, but I didn't know that. He was the speaker for the Bible study. So I walked in as a 19-year-old kid and I walked up to him, and I was arrogant and passionate, excited. And I said to Louis backstage, "Hey, I'm a speaker too." Which, to try to put that maybe in your framework, it would be like if you were the intramural flag football quarterback at your local community college and you said to Peyton Manning, "I'm a speaker too." So he kind of smirked and looked at me, and I said, "Hey, would you have any advice for me?" And really what I wanted him to do was be proud of me, and I wanted him to like endorse me to speak at like the local youth regional thing. And he looked at me like, I'll never forget it. He was leaning up against this pole, and he said, "You need to go away, and you need to get to know God, and then you'll have something to say. And if you have something to say about God, you'll never lack from a platform to say it from." And I went home, and I wrote in my journal, "I met a jerk today." Sky. I was so mad. But it was the best wisdom and advice he could have ever given me. Because what he knew is that knowing God takes precedence over speaking for him. Knowing God takes precedence over any change that comes in your life. That the Proverbs say the beginning of all wisdom is fearing and knowing God. And that's what I want for you in 2019. We began with this idea that a productive life begins with a prepared heart. Like an open heart to say, "God, please speak to me." We've been leading out of this verse in Isaiah 26:8, and it just says, "Yes, Lord." It's a prayer and a confession. Yes, God. Come on, 2-word prayer that is amazing. Yes, God. Whatever you want for me, that's what I want. I wait eagerly for you. Your name, something so much bigger than me and my desire and my role. Your name is the desire of my soul. I want that. So I'll encourage you, if God has spoken to you during these 21 days, to write it down, to document your journey. Like just, it could be a sentence, it could be a bullet point, it could be a thought or idea. I think God is speaking to me in this area. I think God is leading. Chronicle, document your journey with God. Sometimes they ask this question at like office offsites or some kind of icebreaker, and they say, "What would you grab in your house if your house was on fire?" Like the first thing you would grab and take with you. And we used to say photos, but now all my photos are in the cloud, so it'll be there when I get out. There's a box of journals like in my house of just pages of written prayers of documenting my journey with God. I just want to encourage you to do that. So before we jump into the message this morning, in celebration of the ending of 21 days of prayer and fasting, I want us to go before God with openness and say, "Please, God, one more time, speak to me this year." If you feel comfortable, we're going to pray. And I would just encourage you to open your hands up like this, like in a posture of surrender, of just saying, "I want to be open to God." So let's bow our heads and close our eyes. So God, we do come before you. We need your words more than any person's. We need your heart, your encouragement, your challenge to us. And right there where you are, I invite you to pray this prayer we pray every week as a church. Something quiet between you and God like this. "God, please, please speak to me because I am listening." And then pray for somebody else, probably somebody you're seated beside. A bold prayer for them. "God, please talk to this person today and give them the faith and the courage to respond to you. And God, please let it be anybody but the Patriots. In Jesus' name, amen. Look at your neighbor and say, hey, I'm glad to be in church today. Come on. Man, I'm glad I came. Look at your second choice and say, I'm glad you came. You need it. You need it. We're wrapping up this teaching series called Uphill Habits. And uphill habits, if you haven't been here for the last couple of weeks, the big idea behind uphill habits is that most people have uphill hopes. I want my life to be better, but we have downhill habits. The things that we're choosing on a daily, regular basis, if we took inventory of those things, they're not leading us to the place that we want to be in our life. Sometimes we recognize this much quicker in other people. Like someone says they want this area of their life to change or that area of their life to change. It could be their marriage or their career, their finances, raising their children. We look at that and we say, yeah, you say you want that, but I've been watching and what you're doing isn't necessarily leading to that. We all have uphill hopes, but sometimes we have downhill habits. We're calling this uphill habits because honestly, they're difficult. It's going uphill. It's starting new habits. Every one of us has habits. It's asking ourselves the honest question, do the habits that we have, are they leading me where I want to go? And then we've been working out of this verse in Proverbs chapter 4, and it simply says this, look straight ahead and fix your eyes on what lies before you. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Stay on that safe path. Don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil. Solomon is writing to his son, and then ultimately to us. God speaks through him, and he says, hey, lay out some steps, some habits, some things that you repeatedly do. We've shared this definition a couple of times, but a habit is a settled, regular tendency or practice, especially one that's hard to give up. It's a repeated action. I love that word settled. We have already decided to do these things. I've said over and over again through this series, it's the small things that nobody sees that result in the things that everybody wants. It's the little things done over and over again that lead us to the life that we're all honestly looking for. And so we have to start some uphill habits. The first week we talked about the habit of priority, like what I do first every day, spending time with God, what I do the first of my week or my month or my year, what is a supreme importance to me. And then the second week we talked about the habit of our words, like the power of what we say to each other and to ourselves. And maybe more than anything else, that habit has the power to shape, steer, and script your life. And then last week we talked about a difficult one, the habit of sacrifice, of regularly, daily dying to the things that I want for the good of God and the glory of God and the good of other people. And today we're going to talk about maybe the habit that causes it all to stick together and to keep us moving in the right direction. Habit number 4 is the habit of community. The people that we're connected with, and come on, we're talking about habits on a regular, settled basis. Now, all of us have friends. We have buddies. We have people we play golf with. You might have ladies that you go out and have drinks with. You do a little once-a-year trip with. There might be people who are in your sorority or you're in fraternity, roommates or friends along the way. I'm talking about the habit of community beyond just the people we hang out with. I'm talking about people in our lives who propel us. People in our lives who care for us. People in our lives who push us toward potential. The habit of community, it's not just a nice idea. It's not just, isn't that nice? Community is like oxygen. It's like food or water or shelter. We need it. You weren't designed to live in isolation. In fact, if you get isolated, you paint a face on a volleyball like Tom Hanks and start calling it Wilson. Like, we all need people in our lives that we can be connected to, and none of us gets where we are without that. Have you ever seen this picture before? It's a little turtle up on a post there. You ever seen that? Some of you, like all you animal lovers, like, oh, that little guy, how did he get up there? I hope he's okay. Well, the point is, though, that he didn't get there on his own. You never walk by a turtle on a fence post and go, man, that guy can climb. No, you know somebody helped him get there. And wherever we go in our life, it's because of other people. Did you know that in the first Apollo missions, when we landed a man on the moon, it took 400,000 people to land one person on the moon? It takes people connected together to do things, but it also takes community for us to be spiritually healthy. And so if you have a Bible, I want you to turn with me to the book of Hebrews. If you're new to the Bible, it's close to the back. Don't be afraid of the table of contents, and also the verses will be on the screen or they're on your outline. I always say when you're taking notes and writing things down, don't be afraid to circle words, underline them. It'll help you to remember some things. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse number 23, the writer says, "Let us hold unswervingly." Don't you like that word? You should use it in a sentence this week. People will think you're smart or weird. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess. For he who promised us is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up the meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encourage one another all the more as you see the day approaching. So the writer of Hebrews says to his people, let us hold unswervingly. Let's don't move right or left. Let's stick to it. Let's stick to these habits. And then he tells us how. He says, let's continue to meet together. Let's continue to spur one another on to love and good deeds. And he says, don't get out of the habit of doing that. And so in our church, as it continues to grow, and it's always been a good chunk of people, you can come into a room like this and you can be a little bit anonymous. You can sit in a row and you can choose to engage with people or not. And honestly, we want you to be able to do that as long as you feel comfortable. But when you're ready to get connected, we want to help you get connected, because community isn't a choice. It's a vital need in our lives. And here the writer of Hebrews says, if we want to stick to the things that we hope and we profess, we need each other. And I got a little bit of an agenda here today. And part of that agenda of this habit of community is that at Journey, we're always thinking about how do we get smaller as we get larger? How do we connect people into a family? Because church is not some organization, it's a family you belong to. And every word in the New Testament that describes the church describes it in family terms. Mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, connected to each other. And so at Journey, we do small groups, and most of you know that. And a lot of you here in the church are a part of a small group. In fact, we even say if you only have 1 hour this week to give to church, we would prefer you give it to a group, because we want you to be connected with people. We want you to be in a family. We want you to be part of a group of people who care for one another and walk through life together. And so what we do is we run our groups on a semester basis, and we're just about to start. And they'll run for about 12 weeks through the spring. And so they're starting up in February. In fact, we've got tables out in the atrium. You can stop by there and find out more information. You can go to the website and find out more information. I think we're going to have somewhere close to 70 groups meeting this semester, all different nights of the week, some for couples, some for young adults, some for singles, some for men and women. They're all different kinds of groups. And listen, we all start at the same time and end at the same time. And we do that so that when you go to group, you don't feel like you're walking in on somebody's family reunion. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows the jokes, you don't. We want you to start at the same time and enjoy doing that together. So I have a little bit of an agenda today, because I want that for you. I want you to find a connection of friends here at our church, and especially if you haven't found that yet. So I want to give you a couple of big ideas about why community is so important. So if you're taking notes, here's what, and I just want to try to give you this visual, is that you need to Velcro your life to the right people. So when I was a kid in 3rd grade, I had Velcro shoes. I don't think anybody wears Velcro shoes anymore unless you're like in a senior adult living facility. I can't wait for that day. I'm going to ride around my scooter with my Velcro shoes. But in third grade, I had these Velcro shoes, and we didn't even need laces, and we had a little pocket on the side, a little zipper. They were kangaroo shoes. You keep a quarter in there for lunch or something. You're like, man, are you like 80? No, I'm not. That was just the 80s. And so how many of you ever had a Velcro wallet? Anybody have a Velcro wallet? Okay, good. Tear that baby open. If you still have that, stop it. Stop it. We can help you at Journey. Leave it. Just put it in the offering bucket and we'll take care of it, okay? But you get the idea, like it's two pieces like just connected together, and it takes a little bit of something to pull them apart and to attach. Is your life Velcro to the right people? And by that, here's what I mean, is that it is a truth that we are the sum total of our relationships and our choices. It is the truth that you're probably, on average, the sum total of your 5 closest friends. So just take a little inventory of the people that you're closest to and you spend the most time with. And ask yourself honestly, when I'm around these people, do I feel closer to God? Does it make me want to pursue God more? Or do I have to fight to stay on track? Are the people in my life, are they the right people? If I became like these people, if my marriage ended up like theirs, if my career, if my character, would I be okay with that? Because sometimes we excuse it because it's comfortable, but ask yourself this question: Am I Velcro to the right people? Look at this verse with me. Proverbs 13:20. It says, walk with the wise and become wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. If you should memorize that verse, especially if you're a parent, you should teach this to your children over and over again. You become like the people you spend the most time with, right? You pick up their language, their mannerisms, their character. And that is just as true for adults as it is for teenagers. The people that we spend time with, we become like those people. And it doesn't even say in this verse that you become a fool. It just says you suffer harm. So I ask myself, am I Velcro to the right people? Here's another big idea, is that we probably need to elevate our circle. Elevate your circle of friends. These are some hard truths today, so just sit back and relax. If you are the smartest, most spiritual, awesome person in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. If you're not constantly looking at the people who you're closest with and thinking, I can grow, I can be challenged, you probably need to elevate your circle. If there's no one in your group of friends that's challenging you, you probably need to elevate your circle. Look at this verse. We love this verse as Christians. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. If you're like in church world, you've probably heard this verse before. You've seen it on a t-shirt or a coffee mug or somebody preach on it. But I want you to think about for a moment what this verse means. Have you ever seen iron sharpen iron? Have you ever seen like someone hammering something on an anvil? There's friction, there's sparks, it's uncomfortable, there's tension. And so, is there any relationships in your life where all of those things are present? Like, I love you, but it's a little bit hot. It's a little bit uncomfortable. It rubs you the wrong way. There's a little bit of tension and spark. That's what I mean by elevating your circle. Here's a couple of things maybe to help answer that question is, am I in an echo chamber? Do you know what I mean by echo chamber? Have you heard this term before? Is that I never hear anything that I don't disagree with. Everything that someone says to me or I hear, I automatically agree with. That's an echo chamber. I'm just hearing the same things over and over again. I don't know that there's ever been a time in our culture that's more of an echo chamber. Did you know that your social media feeds are designed to do this for you? What you click on and what you like, the social media masters will continue to feed you. So you're hearing and seeing the same things that you agree with or the things that you absolutely hate because they know that it'll be clickbait for you and you'll comment on it. Are there any people in your life that are saying things different than what you hold to be true or are counterintuitive to you that can challenge the way that you think about something? And I don't even mean that you would agree with it. I mean, you might be in a circle of people and they say something and you go, oh, and you would look back at them and go, man, you really see it differently than me. Bless your heart. You're an idiot, but I'm going to love you anyway. Because that's part of it too, right? Part of it is to listen to somebody and maybe you receive from it. Maybe you hear it and go, oh, I've never thought about it that way. Or maybe you love someone through that. That's part of your character development too. Look at this, Proverbs 12:15. It says, the way of fools seems right to them because they have no other voices. But the wise listen to advice. Here's another big idea. Do you have a circle of friends? Here's another way to say it. That could say to you some challenging things, and here's how I put it in a question is, do I have Sharpie on my face? How many of you have at some point in your life, you've been at the office, maybe you were working on a school project, and you were really thinking hard about it, and you were kind of chewing on a pen, and you got a little Sharpie on your face? You were just, oh, God, I don't know. And you just get a little Sharpie there on the face. And you didn't mean to do it. You have no idea that it is on your face. And you walk through your whole day and no one tells you. You ever had that happen? Like lettuce in the tea, Sharpie on the face. And you walk around and you talked face to face to like 12 people and no one told you. And then you got home and your roommate, friend, spouse looked at you and said, hey, you got Sharpie on your face. If you were married, if you were a husband and you are married, your wife will walk over to you and go, hey, what do you got on your face? What do you got on your face right there? If you're not married yet, your wife will groom you, man. If you don't know this, she will take care of you. She will pop things on your body. There's hairs coming out of you. Is it not true, men? I mean, it's not true. If you're single, you got a lot to look forward to. So here's the issue. Is like you don't even know you have it on your face because you're blind to it. Do you have anybody in your life who loves you enough to say, hey, you got Sharpie on your face? And then when we're confronted with that, we always respond like in three ways. We either go, no, I don't. No, I don't. Or we spend a lot of time telling the people why we have Sharpie on our face. Oh, I was working on this project. I must have leaned over to this pen. And guess what? The person who's telling you you have Sharpie on the face, they don't care. So just apply that to other areas. So when someone points out something to you, don't get defensive. Don't explain why. Just number three, like get busy removing the Sharpie from your face. Oh, I got to get that off my face. Do you have any environment in your life where somebody can point out the blind spots to you? Number three, listen, is who is pushing me? Is there anybody in my circle that I look at them and I go, I want to be like them. I want to be like her. I want to have a career like that. I want to be a mom like that. I want to have a spiritual life like that. I want my life to. Is there anybody in your life who's pushing you, prodding you? The writer of Hebrews says, let us think about how we may spur one another on to good deeds. If you've ever ridden a horse, you know what he's talking about. Spurs, prod, poke, cut. Like, who's pushing you along the way? We need that in our lives. Or we just grow resistant and comfortable. So, I want to encourage you, if you have not yet found a group, if you've not found a connection of people, that you would try that at Journey this semester. You would take a leap and do that. And I want to give you just 5 things that will help this become a cemented, settled habit in your life. And the first one is this. Listen, that you'll find a group and then, listen, it's so practical, and show up. Just go. Just go. I think this group will work for us. It's a night of the week. I kind of think it's the same age group, same stage of life. I'm going to go try that. Okay, just show up. And listen, men, I got to tell you this. Like, I got to be like really honest. It's kind of weird to take this step. It's hard to take this first step. As an introverted guy, the last thing that I think about is, you know what, I want to drive to somebody's house in the middle of the night. I want to drive over there late and go into someone's house that I don't know anybody there and sit down and talk about my feelings. I just can't wait to do that. None of us think that, okay? But there's something about taking that step and going there. Listen, I'm going to make you some promises. The leaders that we have at Journey who are leading these small groups, they're people who understand that. No one's going to ask you to pray out loud. No one's going to ask you to share your worst sin. No one's ever going to ask you to quote Leviticus. It's not, they know. It's a dinner party where we're going to talk about the Lord. We're going to talk about what we talked about here at church, and we're going to pray for each other. And somebody's going to lead that, and they're going to be comfortable enough to walk you through that and it be a good experience. Here's caveat number 2 for that, is if you show up to that place and you don't really like those people, you don't have to stay in that group. That was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't. And here's what I mean by that, is if you go to that group and there's enough people here at Journey that you're going to meet with some of those people and you're going to go, they're my jam. These are my people. I had a great time. I really connected with those people. Or you may go to a group and go, these people are weird. I don't like these people. I don't know if I should get a restraining order. Jesus' church is big. There's all kind of fruit flakes and nuts that go to Journey. You just got to find your nuts, all right? Can we all be honest enough with that, okay? So listen, if you go to a restaurant and you have a bad meal, you don't stop eating out. You just go to another restaurant. So find a group that fits for you. Just show up and then pursue God. It's more than just a dinner. We're going with a purpose. We're sitting down together. We're going to talk about what God's doing in our life. We're going to talk about the sermon. We're going to pray together, and we're going to take some spiritual steps. And that would encourage you to join in. You get out of it what you put into it. So join in with that. And then here's always the rule at Journey is be real. Just be honest about the things that are going on in your life. Here's what happens at every new community group at Journey. Everybody comes the first night. Let's say it's a married people group. And you show up and you go, hi, I'm Tom. This is Nancy. And we love God and everything's really, really good in our life. And we're so glad to be here at this group. Blessings. That's what we do. And then, hi, I'm Skip, and this is Linda, and these are all made-up names, obviously. And, hey, we're perfect, too, and you just keep going around the circle. But about 3 weeks into that, somebody will get honest, right? Somebody will be real. Somebody will say, our marriage isn't where it should be. We're really struggling. And then, come on, I'm promising you, here's what happens. The next couple goes, us too. Last year, we were almost at the brink. 2 years ago, us too. It's when somebody is bold enough to be real that things actually change. So be real. And the last one is just to be the church for each other. Every small group should be the church to each other. We care for each other. We take care of each other's needs. We're there for each other. We celebrate with each other. My wife and I have been in, a dozen of these small groups in the last 10 or 12 years here at Journey. And some of you in this room, we've been in group together and we've walked through seasons of life and we've been there for each other in moments when we celebrated the birth of a child or we wept with people going through infertility. We've stood by people when they struggle through their marriage. We've stood by people when they divorced. Death of loved ones, hospital visits, being the church for each other, praying for each other, fighting for each other, encouraging each other. That's where the secret sauce of following Jesus gets sticky and real. This is a picture of my community group from last semester. It's a little bit fuzzy, and we all have those weird Christmas sweaters on because it was our Christmas party, and it was ugly Christmas sweater night. If you have one of those sweaters and you wore it for real, we're sorry. That has happened at Journey before when someone walked up to one of our greeters and said, oh, your sweater's ugly too. And he was like, didn't mean to do it. And so this is our small group. We met this last semester. Honestly, when we started, hardly any of us knew each other. I kind of met some people here at the church. Some people called. They called their friends. Honestly, that we were out to dinner with one of these couples and said, hey, let's do a small group. And their answer was, heck no, and not that. We don't want to do that. Like, that feels weird to us. I'm like, hey, come on, just try it with us. And the first night that we met together, one of the couples there, their daughter was facing a severe health challenge. In fact, words like tumor and brain cancer were being uttered, and it was the first night. We didn't hardly know each other. A couple of the couples knew each other in the group. So one of the couples is at the hospital with their daughter, and another couple is going to be with them, so they dropped their kids off to stay there. And we all met and kind of told some of our stories and prayed desperately for this couple. And so that began our first night journey of being the church for each other, trying to do meals and talk with each other and stand in the gap for each other. The ending of that was much, much greater in that God really is doing a miraculous work in their daughter's life and healing her. And we got to celebrate that on this night. But here's the point. Is a bunch of strangers coming together, getting to know each other, telling stories, and then standing together through tough times and celebrating through the good times. Like that's community, and that is what Jesus is calling us to. And that's what I want for every single one of you. Let's go back to what we started with. A settled tendency, practice, repeated action, showing up for each other. And I want to help you take that big next step of establishing community. Will it be a little bit difficult, a little hump to get over? Yes. But change never happens until we get a little uncomfortable. And in that we find life.